Hello everyone. In this video we will learn how to balance chemical equations. Balancing chemical equations depends on the concept, which is number of atoms in any chemical equation is conserved, which means that the number of atoms on the left hand side should equal number of atoms on the right hand side. Let us start practicing part A. We will count the number of atoms in order to know how to balance. So left hand side and right hand side. As we can see in this chemical equations, we have one Fe on the left hand side and one Fe on the right hand side. 2Cl on the left hand side and 3Cl on the right hand side. Before we continue, I want to tell you something. When I want to balance, I can never play with the numbers in the subscript, never. Because playing with these numbers means changing the compound or the element itself, which is not our goal. Our goal is just to make the number of atoms on the left-hand side equal the number of atoms on the right-hand side. One Fe, which is fine, but here the number of Cl, it's not the same. I will make them the same by multiply this by 3, this will be 6Cl. Multiply this by 2, this will be 6Cl. So this is 3 and this will be 2. When I did this, I changed the number of Fe on the right hand side to be 2. They are not equal. To make them equal, simply I multiply by this by 2 to be 2 Fe. Now let us check. 2 Fe on the left hand side, 2 Fe on the right hand side, 6Cl, and the equation is balanced. Let us move to practice another equation, part B. We have Fe plus O2 to give Fe2O3. Again, using the same methodology, we need number of atoms on both sides to be equal. 1 Fe on the left side and 2 Fe on the right side. Before balancing, definitely 2 oxygen on the left hand side and 3 oxygen on the right hand side. They are not balanced. I will make them balanced. I can again multiply this by 3 to give me 6O and this by 2 to give me 6O. So I multiply this by 3 and this by 2. When I did this, I disturbed the number of iron on the right hand side. 2 by 2 is 4. This is 4. So simply I will multiply this by 4. And now the number of atoms is equal, which means now the equation is balanced. We will move to the other equation, part C. In part C, we have Fe. Let us write again, as usual. Left hand side, we counted atoms, and right hand side. Left hand side, 1 Fe, so this is 1 Fe. Right hand side, 2 Fe. Br 3 in the left hand side. Here we have 1 Br. As we see here, we have SO4, 1 on the left hand side, and here SO4, all of it, 3 on the right hand side. So let us start doing our balance. We will use trial and error method. We will start, for example, by Br3, so I can write here next to Br3. 2 Fe, this is 1, I will put here 2. Now let me check what happened. 2 times 3, it is 6. This is a 3, which is not equal. To make it equal, simply I put 6. So now 6Br and 6Br. This one is fine. 2 Fe and 2 Fe on the both sides. Now this is fine. Let us see the sulfate and the hydrogen as well. Yes, I forgot to count the hydrogen. On the left hand side we have 2 hydrogen, and on the right hand side we have now 6 hydrogen. So let me multiply this by 3. So 3 sulfate. Now 3 sulfate, okay. 3 by 2 for the hydrogen is 6 and 6 hydrogen, okay. So now the equation is balanced, and let us check the final check. 2Fe, 6Br, 6Br, 6 hydrogen, 3 SO4 and 3 SO4, and the equation is balanced like this. Let us move to part D and try balancing it. Left hand side and right hand side. I have on the left hand side 4 carbon, to the right hand side 2 carbon, hydrogen 6 and 2 sum up to 8, so 8 here, 4 hydrogen on the right hand side, and oxygen 3 1, which is 4 oxygen. Here we have 2 oxygen. Again, we want to make all the atoms equal on both hand sides. So 4 carbon, 2 carbon, one of the option is to multiply this by 2 to give me 4 carbon. So I put here 2. When I put on the right hand side 2, the hydrogen turns 2 times 4, 8. So here 6 plus 2, 8. So it turns to be 8 on both sides, which is fine. Here 3 oxygen and 1 oxygen, which is 4, and on the right hand side 4, and now the equation is balanced. So when there is nothing on the coefficient, it means 1. Usually we don't write it. Again, the final check: 4 carbon, 6 hydrogen, and 2, 8 hydrogen, 2 by 4, 8, 2 by 2, 4 oxygen, and 3 and 1, 4 oxygen. The equation is balanced like this. We will move to part E. C2H4, again, let us count left hand side and right hand side. 2C on the left hand side and 1C on the right hand side. 4 hydrogen on the left hand side and 2 hydrogen. Definitely I'm taking these numbers from the equation. 2 oxygen on the left hand side and 2 plus 1, 3 oxygen on the other side. Let us start using trial and error to balance these equations. I can multiply this by 2 to give me 2 carbons, so I put here 2. When now this is balanced. When I multiply by 2, I disturbed oxygen. So 2 oxygen and 1 5. But before, let me see hydrogen. Here 4 hydrogen, 2 hydrogen. So I can multiply this by 2 to give me 4 hydrogen, which is okay. Now the hydrogen atoms are equal on both sides, and the carbon I have to check for the oxygen. On the left hand side 2, on the right hand side 2 by 2, 4, plus 2, we have 6. So simply I multiply this by 3. So the final checkup: 2 carbon, 4 hydrogen, 2 by 2, 4, 6 oxygen, and 2 by 2, 4 plus 2, 6 oxygen, and the equation is balanced like this. Part F. Left hand side atoms and right hand side atoms. 4 carbon on the left hand side, 1 carbon on the right hand side, 10 hydrogen left hand side, 2 hydrogen on the right hand side, 1 oxygen and 2, 3 oxygen, 2 and 1, 3 oxygen. So let us start balancing. I can multiply this by 4 to give me 4 carbons. So I can put here 4 carbon. Okay, carbon is fine. Now let me see hydrogen. Hydrogen I can multiply by 5 to give me 10 hydrogen, like this one. So this is 5. Now I'm left with the oxygen. After I did this, oxygen on the left hand side still 3, but on the right hand side 4 by 2, 8. 8 plus 5, 13 oxygen. So what shall I do to make them balanced? I can, one of the option, I can put here, this is 1 oxygen, I can put here 6. Why? Because 6 times 2 is 12 plus 1 is 13. So now 13 oxygen to the left hand side and 13 oxygen to the right hand side. Let us do the final check. 4 carbon, 4 carbon, 10 hydrogen, 10 hydrogen, 1 oxygen and 12, 13, 8 oxygen and 5, 13, and the equation is balanced. Part G, C7H16. Okay, so again, let us balance using the concept of conservation of atoms. On the left-hand side, we have 7 carbon. Here we have 1 carbon. On the left-hand side, 16 hydrogen. On the right-hand side, 2 hydrogen. Here on the left-hand side, 2 oxygen. And here 2 and 1, 3 oxygen. We will start balancing using trial and error. I can multiply this by 7 to give me 7 carbon, so this is 7. Hydrogen, I can multiply by 8 to give me 16 hydrogen as on the left hand side, so 8. Now let us go to the oxygen. Oxygen left hand side 2, right hand side 7 by 2, 14. 14 plus 8 is equal to 22 oxygen. So I want the 22 with 2 to be equal, so I have to work on the left hand side. How to make 22 and 2 equal? Simply I multiply this by 11 because 11 times 2 is 22. Final checkup, 7 carbon, 7 carbon, 16 hydrogen, 8 by 2, 16 hydrogen, 22 oxygen, 7 by 2, 14, 14 plus 8, 22, and the equation is balanced. We will move to part H. Again, we will count the number of atoms on both sides in part H. So left hand side, right hand side, in an attempt to make them equal. 2 hydrogen on the left hand side sum up to 4 hydrogen. On the right hand side, H8 and 1, which is 7 hydrogen. Now 1 silicon, and on the right hand side 4 silicon. Now 2 Cl on the left hand side and 1 Cl on the left hand side. Still oxygen on the left hand side 1, and on the right hand side we have 4 oxygen. Now we will try to make them equal. I can start by silicon because I can multiply this by 4 to be equal, so this will be 4 silicon. When I did this, I disturbed hydrogen and chlorine. The hydrogen now on the left hand side, 4 by 2, 8, plus 2, 10. So now it's 10 hydrogen. And here 8 and 1, still 8 and 1. It's 9 hydrogen, sorry. It's 9 hydrogen, not 7 hydrogen. Okay. So Cl2, 4 by 2, it's 8. I can multiply this by 8. So now this will be 8 chlorine and 8 chlorine. Let us move. So 4 silicon, 4 silicon, 8 chlorine, 8 chlorine. Let me count the hydrogen. 4 by 2, 8 hydrogen, plus 2, 10. So 8 by 1 is 8, 16, so it's not equal. Let us seal oxygen. This is 4. I can multiply this by 4. Now oxygen 4 on both sides. Let us go back to count the Cl and hydrogen. 4 times Cl2, 8. which is HCl. HCl is fine. Let us count the hydrogen. 4 by 2, 8. 4 by 2, 8, which is sum up to 16 hydrogen. 8 plus 8, 16 hydrogen. Now will hydrogen equal conserved. 4 silicon, 4 silicon, okay. HCl, HCl, okay. And oxygen, we have 4 oxygen on the left hand side and 4 oxygen on the right hand side, okay, and the equation is balanced. We will move to part I. Again, left hand side and right hand side. On the left hand side we have 3 hydrogen, 1 and 2, 3. We have 1 silicon, we have 3 Cl and 1 oxygen. Alternatively, on the right hand side we have 10 hydrogen and 1, we have 11 hydrogen, we have 10 silicon, we have 1 Cl and we have oxygen, which is 15 oxygen. Again, using trial and error method, let us try balancing it. I can, for example, start by silicon that has the highest number, or oxygen that has the highest number, but here the oxygen is 15, so I can write 15. So 15 oxygen and 15 oxygen on the right hand side, so this is turned to be 15, is fine. Silicon 10, I can put here 10, so now silicon on both sides 10, which is fine. Let us see the chlorine, what happened to it. 10 by 3 is 30, so I can put here for chlorine 30, so now 30 and 30, which is fine, equal. Now let us check on the hydrogen. 10 hydrogen plus 30 hydrogen, 40 hydrogen. This is 10 hydrogen, 30 plus 30, which is 40, and the equation is balanced like this. Now we will move to part J. Again, let us count number of atoms, left hand side and right hand side. We have 7 carbon, and on the other hand 7 carbon. Hydrogen 9 plus 1, which is 10. Here 6 plus 2, which is 8 hydrogen. Usually I like to take all this together, NO and O. When I take it, it's the same. Eventually the number of atoms, they are the same, no problem. Anyhow, I can segregate them. We have here 1 nitrogen, and on the other side 3 nitrogen. Here we have 3 oxygen, and on the other side 3 by 2, 6 plus 1, 7 oxygen. As you see, they need balancing. Let us start. We can start, for example, by balancing nitrogen. Here I can multiply by 3, so 3, so the number of hydrogen now 3 nitrogen. Let us see carbon, it's already balanced, 7 carbon, 7 carbon. Let us see hydrogen, 9 hydrogen plus 3 hydrogen, 12. So on the left hand side now we have 12 hydrogen, and on the other side too I can put here 6. Now they are both 12. Let us check oxygen. 3 times 3, it is now 9 oxygen, and on the other side 3 by 2, it's 6 oxygen plus 6, 12 oxygen. So equation is not balanced still with oxygen. Let us redo the balancing, trial and error. 7 carbon, 7 carbon. Hydrogen 9 plus 3, 12. Okay, there is mistake here. That's why it didn't work, because here hydrogen 9 plus 3, 12 is summation should be 12. Here we have 6, so this should be 3, because 3 by 2 is 6. Now it's fine. 6 and 6, 12 hydrogen. Now it's fine. 3 nitrogen, it's okay. And oxygen, 3 by 3, 9, and 3 by 2, 6, plus 3. Now the equation is balanced. Now the equation is balanced. Okay, so we will move to part K, the last one. Left hand side and right hand side. We have 5 carbon here, 5 carbon, and also on the right hand side 5 carbon. H, 8 plus 1, 9, plus 1, 10. And on the other side we have 12 hydrogen, 2 oxygen here, 2 oxygen, and 1 Na, 1 Na, 1 Cl, 1 Cl. And what else still? We have carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, sodium, and chlorine. Okay, let us start balancing. I can, for example, start balancing Cl hydrogen. I can start balancing hydrogen. Here we have 10 hydrogen. Here we have 12 hydrogen on the other side. So, for example, I can using trial and error. Here, 2 hydrogen. Now 8 plus 2, 10, plus 1, it's 11. I can also add here 2. Now it's 12 hydrogen, 12 hydrogen. 2 plus 8, 10, plus 2, 12, and here we have 12. But I disturbed other. I disturbed the sodium. Now it's 2 sodium. So this should be also 2. 2 sodium, 2 sodium. Now let us check for the chlorine. 2 chlorine on the left hand side, 2 chlorine. Okay, so now chlorine is fine. Carbon is fine. Still I am left with oxygen. Now on the right hand side we have 2 oxygen, and also on the left hand side 2 oxygen, and the equation